Yeah, being very casual. I thought you were just channeling your inner Obama fashion guru. I don't.
Personally, I'm relieved about Brian because for months, because Catholic Vote, of course, didn't take an official position because it's very awkward because Brian was our president and everything else. Except for months, I have worn this pin, and I would be able to at private meetings talk about the slow walk of nominations. So I'm just finally able. I'm now finally able to publicly talk about how much the Senate stinks when it comes to the timing of these nominations.
Yeah.
Okay, we can't wait to hear it. And just for the audio listeners, what is your pin?
Oh, it is a American flag with a Vatican flag pin.
Yes,
And I have one for all the staff if we are to meet in a couple of weeks.
Oh, very good.
I'm so excited. Thank you. All right. Well, first, before we dig into why the Senate stinks from August Recess, Tom, we have a sponsor. Today's show, it's Monday, and that means the Cunninghams, the Cunningham team at Inspire Advisors. Do you realize your family's investment portfolio can be a powerful weapon to help restore Christian values in today's culture? Do you know you can invest well and not offend God? The Cunningham team and Inspire Advisors can build you a quality portfolio that aligns with solid Catholic beliefs, shunning abortion, pornography, and the like. The Cunninghams build custom, biblically responsible portfolios for their clients in all types of accounts. They even offer 401k plans with those same options. Venerable Bishop Fulton Sheen said, "I wonder maybe if our Lord does not suffer more from our indifference than he did from the crucifixion." Whoa. So do something virtuous for your family, faith, and country. Reach out to the Cunningham team today for a free portfolio evaluation. You may be surprised what you are inadvertently supporting. See their contact information in today's show notes, or for those of you on YouTube, follow that QR code that is on your screen right now. Investment advisory services provided by Inspire Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor with the SEC. Viva Cristo Rey. Check out the Cunninghams. Great team. They're really fun to talk to, too. Just regular guys.
That is cool.
That is cool. All right. So let's dig into it. This is glorious news over the weekend. Saturday, we were all on Twitter anxiously following, will Brian even get to the vote? And he does. And he is confirmed. On Saturday afternoon, they voted 49-44 to confirm Catholic Vote co-founder and former longtime president as the nation's ambassador to the Holy See. I'll just read a little bit about from Brian's statement expressing his thanks. He said, "Words cannot express my gratitude to all those who have helped me achieve this important position, most especially my wife, Sarah, my 9 beautiful children, my Catholic Vote team, and all those who supported me in this journey. I am especially grateful to the example of my father, Brian Birch Sr., I believe. Is that right, Josh? Who passed to eternal life last year, who taught me to love the church and the profound blessings and responsibilities of being a citizen of the United States." So pray for his dad's soul in gratitude. And guys, I just wanted to open it up. Josh, you've been working with Brian for so long. If you're going to reflect back on his sort of legacy that he leaves behind at Catholic Vote as he goes to this new post, do you have a few words for people who might not know him as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've worked along side by side with him for 20 years. And, there was an interesting thing when conservatives or Christians, they were trying to get involved in political life, especially like in the 70s and 80s and 90s. People like Pat Robertson or Ralph Reed, they're evangelical or Baptist or, Protestant in some form or another. I apologize if I don't know their exact denomination. But at that time, the media environment was such that you had to rely on getting, noticed by newspapers like the New York Times or the Washington Post or whatever else. But, Brian comes along with the age of the internet, and there's not as much of a need to build up his name. Because, if you're Ralph Reed, I'm not trying to talk bad about Pat Robertson or Ralph Reed or Jerry Falwell, but they had to build up their name. And Brian is certainly different from these guys. But like to get any notice from the mainstream media, there's such it was so hard to break into that medium because everyone was watching the regular, network news. But with the advent of the internet, we were able to go directly to Catholics We're able to find them online and just say, hey, here's this organization called Catholic Vote. Here's what we're interested in doing. Here's the things that we care about. We want to obviously advance pro-life principles, be super in favor of religious freedom and expression. We want to support school choice. We want to bring a Catholic perspective to every issue under the table. And that we didn't see as much, and he didn't see as much of a need to boost his name per se. You know, like there were people that were supporting Catholic Vote for many, many years, and they just, oh yeah, this Brian, he's this nice guy, but he, you know, he was never chasing after every camera. You know, he's never trying to get on every cable news show or whatever. He just really was a Catholic dad, 9 kids, who just really wanted to advance a Catholic perspective on public life and bring Catholic voices to the forefront. And I mean, I really do. I mean, I think his humility has served the church, obviously this organization, very well. And I think he's going to, as Trump said, he's going to be a great service to our country and our church. So
yeah, beautiful. Tom, did you want to jump in there?
I think Josh really nailed it on the head. And I've been in DC for a long time, worked in the religious field for quite a while, a lot in the evangelical, and a lot of times people might even think of this Brian, because Brian is also a very personal, private person. But I got to know some of the people, some that Josh named, and even like a Jesse Jackson or something, and they always seemed like politicians first. Faith came second. They were politicians first. And one reason I was always drawn to Catholic, that is certainly not true of Brian, except it wasn't true of Joe. It's Josh Cover Your Ears. It's not true at all about Josh. Josh might come across as some like oracle, like political master, but his faith obviously comes first. And there are a lot of leaders in DC like that, not enough. Kevin Roberts at Heritage is one. Jeannie Mancini, who I worked for at the March for Life, is another, who always just put their faith first. And honestly, first time I met Kelsey, I thought I was looking at Jeannie Mancini's tall twin, because I get that impression from Kelsey as well. So, and Jeannie's not a short person either. I'm not going to be playing one-on-one against either one of them. But I just say Brian has really transformed with his team, which Josh has been there from the very beginning, into a power. I mean, we have the first Catholic vice president. We were the first organization, I believe, policy organization to endorse the president. It's a type of legacy, and the influence we currently have, it's all because of the leadership of Catholic Vote, and Brian has been at the head of it.
Yeah.
Well, and again, I kind of feel like one advantage, sometimes structural advantages can matter. So like this has been one of my small little hobby horses, and it sounds like it's not related. So I make the point that the Department of Interior should be located like somewhere in Colorado or something like that.
Yeah.
Why isn't the Department of Transportation, you know, in Ohio or Michigan or something like that? You know, like decentralize this massive behemoth, this swamp, like get some people out of there, because Washington, D.C. is more of a fantasy land than Hollywood. I mean, these people just don't touch enough grass. They don't have enough connection to everyday Americans or whatever. And so I do feel like actually one of the benefits of Catholic Vote that we've had is we're not based in Washington, D.C. We have offices in like Indiana, Michigan, Illinois. You know what I mean? We're not part of the swamp. We visit the swamp, we make our point, and then we
have Tom in the swamp.
And then we go, and I go home and I dust off my shoes, you know.
And leave Tom to the crocodiles.
Actually, since it's a swamp, I get out that stick, you know, get it off my shoe, right?
Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of the swamp, I guess we can turn our attention to how this all went down. And why this was such a, like, I think Brian caught the last chopper out of Nam kind of situation, almost literally. Was he the last nominee to actually be confirmed before they went on recess?
No, yes. He wasn't. I mean, there
was one more.
No, he was not the last. They confirmed about 3 or 4 others in the same manner in which Brian was, where you kickstart the 2 hours of debate and both sides. It was funny, the 2 hours of debate, and we joke about this.
Yeah.
Like no one's debating.
No,
the senator
it's
from Washington's talking about someone who, this picture of this guy. I'm sure he was a nice guy or whatever. And he died and he did all these great things. Like, you're not even talking about Brian's nomination while you're opposed to it. I mean, this give me a break, And then the senator from Kansas gets up and he says great things about some citizens. I mean, this is good, but you guys are just like using the clock to make your citizens back home feel good. You're not actually debating whether or not Brian Birch is good or not for this position.
Oh my gosh.
So they kickstarted another 3 or 4 of these nominations. 2 hours. We're just like, la, da, da, da. No one's even talking about the nomination that's at hand. Like, does anyone really want to talk about Janine, whether or not she'd be a good U.S. attorney for D.C.? No, we're not going to. We're going to talk about all this other stuff. So they did this for about 3 or 4 other nominees. And then finally, everyone's like looking at the clocks. It's getting later in the evening. They want to go home. They want to literally go back, not just to their house. They want to fly home. And so the Democrats are like, kept coming up with these deals. Like, hey, if you restore a bunch of funding to these organizations that we basically pay our cronies with, then we'll let a ton of these nominees go through. And Republicans did not take that deal, thankfully. But they did basically take a deal at the end where they said, okay, we'll allow 6 people to be voted on without this 2-hour limit. We'll just do vote after vote after vote, 6 in a row, get these confirmed, and then we call it a night. And Thune agreed. The deal was the Democrats would not object to these 6 to be voted through real quick without 2 hours of delay, in exchange for the fact that the Senate would not formally go on recess for the whole month of August. Now, here's the thing. Tom knows this too. When they talk about August recess, that means there's nothing going to be done. Nothing is done in the House or the Senate in the entire month, the rest of the month of August. Okay. They're all going to go home. They're going to go to the parades. They're going to go on whatever vacations they want to. You're not seeing me complain about this. The less time they spend in DC is usually the better. But they've got a lot of nominees they should have gotten passed, right? And so the point that I made and several other senators like Mike Lee, just actually go on formal recess. Just be done. Call it a day and let actual recess happen and let President Trump make a ton of recess appointments. But see, they don't do this. They haven't done this for well over 10 years. What the Senate does is they do these pro forma 5-minute sessions every 3 days so that the Senate's never out of session. So, like, seriously, today or tomorrow, the Senate will convene for about 4 minutes. The Senate comes to order. 4 minutes later, the Senate is adjourned. And they do this so that the President of the United States is unable to make any recess appointments. This sounds really stupid because we have a Republican Senate and a Republican president. You might be wondering why this is going on. Well, you got to go back about 10 years or so when the Republicans took the Senate and Obama was still president. They did this to make sure President Obama didn't name Elizabeth Warren to head the Consumer Protection Agency. Well, I'm glad that you stopped him from putting her in that agency. Mm-hmm. But of course, the revenge was she's now a senator from Massachusetts. But these games, like, why don't you just go in recess? It doesn't make any sense. So let Trump get these people in.
Go ahead, Tom.
There have been hundreds of recess appointments, like prior to everything that Josh named. What is unusual is that when the parties in power in Congress matches the party in power in the presidency, that they don't give this honor to the president or give this to the president. And I also want to add that, yes, the Democrats are being unprecedented in opposing some of these nominees. The only negotiating tool, though, that the Republicans really have is exhaustion. Because Congress, all members of the Senate love airplane fumes. They want to catch those airplane fumes. And this was only the 3rd Friday since January that senators worked. Only the 3rd Friday. So just imagine if they had stayed around a couple of those weekends. Currently, there are about 140 sitting at the front desk, just like Brian was. There's, I think, about 200 or 300 still coming through the pipeline through committees. We haven't even gotten really to judges yet, except for a handful, because then the numbers are going to go way higher. There's like 1,000 different, and there are over 100 Joe Biden holdovers who are still holding reign over different departments within the Trump administration.
So, I mean, like, if the concern is that they don't want Trump to be able to do recess appointments, kind of enough senators, like obviously every single Democrat's opposed to that. And then there might be like 3 or 4 rhinos in the Senate that don't want Trump to make some crazy appointment like Alex Jones or something like that, so like, oh my gosh, we can't do this. So if that's the case, then you guys got to do something. You got to change, because if we're never going to get unanimous consent agreements, all 100 senators to agree, every single Democrat to agree, to get some of these nominations through quicker, like as Senator Eric Schmidt, he's probably my favorite senator right now. He's from Missouri. He's like, I think this is literally the first time in 50 years we've voted on whether, on the nomination for ambassador to Uruguay. Like, no offense to the people down there, but like normally we would just say, is anyone against? No? Right. Okay, done. And you just move on. But no, we object. We got to have 2 hours of debate, and we got to go through this motion and wait. Yeah, and 2 hours later. Mm-hmm. So what we got to do, hey, if we're going to do this, move on faster. Okay. If we're not going to do voice votes and unanimous consent, then none of this 2 hour stuff. And if you're not going to do recess appointments, you got to make the clock 15 minutes. You got 15 minutes to tell me why this guy is horrible. And if you can't do it 15 minutes, you can always, after 15 minutes, say, hey, wait a minute, now let's get some more time. I never heard that explosive, thing before.
Right. Yeah. I just wanted to break it down a little for the listeners, like what actually happened, because the reports are varied. So it got really hot on Saturday, and apparently this is the Senate negotiations were ongoing about, are we going to recess, or are we going to have the votes? Are we going to get the nominees through? And President Trump, actually, some of the outlets are saying that he was the one who actually finally ended the negotiations. And he has this sort of now infamous viral tweet going on. If Simon, you can pull that up. We've got, he just totally let loose on Senator Crying Chuck Schumer is demanding over $1 billion in order to approve a small number of our highly qualified nominees who should right now be helping to run our country. This demand is egregious and unprecedented and would be embarrassing to the Republican Party if it were accepted. And he's like, tell Schumer, who is under tremendous political pressure from within his own party, the radical left lunatics, to go to hell. He just went off on this. And then Chuck Schumer comes back, of course. He loves this. Chuck Schumer's like, oh, he said it. He retweets and he's like, Trump just decided to take his ball and go home like a crybaby. And it turned into this big excuse to anyway. But Chuck Schumer got to go on vacation, so he's happy. Everyone's unhappy. McCluskey, just your view from being there, and you've been there through all of this. I think you called into a staff call and you're like, I'm walking through the halls of the Senate right now. And so what was the temperature, or are they all just in cahoots as far as the charade goes? And they're like, yeah, well, you'll pretend this for a while, we'll pretend that, and then we'll still get to go on August 3rd.
It's been very frustrating, and I somewhat disagree about changing the rules, not because maybe it would solve the problem for a short period, but we've been changing the rules, all because the Senate is just too darn lazy. The general feeling was, and I was able to talk to a couple of senators about this, including Senator Schmidt, and it's like the Senate, even though they have only worked 3 Fridays, they are working at a record pace. They did get a number of the cabinet nominees down. They seem to be always debating when they are in town. There's no free time. But then you ask the senators, what did you do? And all of them, that's when they get really angry, because other than rescissions and reconciliation, which they were kind of forced to vote on by the House and by the president, they aren't doing anything. They wasted 2 weeks debating some sort of crypto bill that's not going anywhere. Most of last week was spent on a MilCon bill, military construction, Veterans Affairs bill, that really is not going to go anywhere, which does nothing to advance the pro-life cause. It actually counters it. So it's like they're hamsters in a wheel. They keep on, they're working really hard, and they feel that, except most of them understand they aren't accomplishing anything, and they would have rather just spent all that time. Most of them, I would have rather just done nominations, and we could have probably even still had our Fridays off.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, look, are there circumstances upon which, they could have done something more constructive with their time? Certainly. But I mean, you're dealing with a situation where I don't have the exact statistic in front of me. That's why I was trying to find it. But during George H. Bush 41, the number of his civilian appointments that were confirmed by the Senate through either unanimous consent. Does anyone object? No. Okay. Or voice vote was like 98%. And then Clinton gets in 98%. Then George W. Bush gets in, it's like 95%. Okay. Still, this is like not a problem. So most of these positions, like Undersecretary for Treasury, Ambassador of Uruguay, whatever, would just get passed. Like, would just be done. And if there was an objection to somewhere, we want to get on the record, we want to vote, like Brian Birch, I'm not surprised that people would actually want to have a vote on him, because some of those Democrats are like, that guy spent money against my campaign or something. Who knows? Like, whatever. Like, have the vote then. Fine. Or you object to a Catholic who actually believes that, babies shouldn't be murdered. Okay, then let's have that vote. Whatever. I mean, but then all the others, hundreds of these other nominees, and the idea behind these rules is like, okay, so if you object to somebody, then we'll kickstart this thing where we can have this debate. And at first it was 30 hours. But then it was like a little unrealistic. It's like, really, we're going to have 30 hours for every single one? You just create this incentive for Democrats to say, I can gummy up the works. I'm going to object to a bunch of these and kick these 30 hours, and it'll slow all of the legislative calendar down. Maybe the crypto thing was dumb. They should have debated something else. But the fact of the matter is, spending endless hours for just like talking and talking. And no one's even debating what they're debating.
Right.
They're truncating it to 2 hours. I supported that rule back change a few months or a year or so ago when that happened. And now it's being abused again because the Democrats have objected to every single civilian appointment. So like I said, that percentages, it got down to like 64% under Trump's first term and about the same for Biden's term. Is now not a single nominee has been confirmed in this Trump administration since January 20th. Not a single nominee by voice vote or unanimous consent. Every single appointment has been objected to by Democrats. It's not like it went from 64% like down to 30% and they're still fine. Okay, fine. We'll let some of these in. Every single one. It's absolutely asinine. So you could say, well, the legislative calendar, what they should have debated, crypto is boring, blah, 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 should have done something else. Yeah, I'm not arguing with you on that. But my point is, like, you've just created a situation where for the resistance, online, people like Brian Schatz out of Hawaii, or, the Senator Padilla from California, they got to object all the time. Object. Like, yeah. Okay. So then what, we're going to have to wait 2 hours for every single nominee. We got to work Saturdays and Sundays to get every nominee. It's a little ridiculous. Honestly.
It is ridiculous. But I think like the question is, so most Americans are not even clued into this. Like, they have no idea. They're like, oh, there's nominees waiting. Oh, okay. It doesn't affect me, like my Trump vote or my vote or whatever. What is the long-term sort of significance of this? What does it tell us, one, about the Democratic Party? And then two, what could possibly, happen to change this culture on the Hill? Or will it even affect things like votes coming down the Hill? Because the reason I want to ask that is last week we had some crazy numbers about Democrat approval, the Democratic Party approval ratings just being in the tank. And we had numbers out of CNN talking about how the different possible presidential nominees for 2028, not a single one of them, if you're talking Buttigieg, you're talking Harris, you're talking Newsom, I mean, just the list goes on, not one of them is polling over 20% right now among Democrats. And so when you're seeing a party that's that fractured and that headless, and yet they're able to do so much damage to the smooth operation of the Trump administration, what does that tell us for the next few years in terms of like ordinary Americans who are looking at voting in the next few years?
The Democratic Party is just floundering. This is the only avenue I think they feel like they have left, is holding up nominees, because all they have left is a very, very narrow base. So if they vote even for Brian Birch, in a somewhat important but innocent role, that they're afraid it'll be held against them in some sort of primary or something from the left. So the Democrats are floundering. Donald Trump just seems to be Teflon to them, no matter what they throw at him. Even when they make crap up, it just doesn't stick to him. So they're trying to figure out what's next. And what they need to do is, one, Chuck Schumer is a horrible leader for them. He's a leader of the past. They need to get rid of him. Also, the numbers, I think the final number wasn't it 49, 44 or something like
Yeah.
that, or
Mhm.
there's supposed to be 100 senators.
Yeah.
That meant a whole bunch weren't even in town. And as far as I
Yeah.
know, I mean, granted, some of them
That's
might have
definitely
been
right.
they might have been in PT or something because most of them are over the age of 90. Um, but it's where were they?
Right.
Why aren't they? It's the Democrat Party is just so much in trouble. Just watch Cory Booker when he tries to recreate Spartacus down on the Senate floor. It is pathetic. So how's that going to change? I think the Democrats. This is not an oracle prediction, but I think the Democrats are going to have to lose poorly in the midterms for them to realize, we need to not only steer the boat in a different direction. We need a new boat.
Yep.
Okay, so but here's the thing. I mean, you would think, okay, your approval is in, the Democratic Party's approval is in the toilet. I mean, it's at the lowest it's ever been in like decades, right? And so maybe walk away from some of this kind of extremism. Maybe don't proudly advocate for
Yeah.
sex operation on children. Maybe don't, have big dudes playing girl sports. Some of these obvious like radical positions. Maybe don't blame, have stoke racial hatred against white people. I mean, like just some basic stuff.
That's like the Ezra Klein abundance approach. Yeah, like let's walk it back a little, guys. Focus on.
But of course
workers.
but that's not what's going on. Like a lot of the Democratic Party voters also are upset at the Democratic Party. But why are they upset? Are they upset that the party has like become too radical? No. Democratic voters are upset that their party isn't fighting enough. And this is why you have people like J.B. Pritzker going to North Carolina, for his presidential, potentially stoking that and saying, are you ready to fight with me? That's why Brian Schatz is putting the hold on every ambassadorial, pick and gumming up the works. They think they're doing it great. They think this is what their party wants, that they're fighting. And so so when you look at those numbers, a lot of Republicans, of course, think the Democratic Party's gone totally psycho and insane, right, which they have. Independents are like, these guys are kind of crazy. But even Democrats don't like Democrats but they think of it differently. Like, we need you to fight harder. So that's why I'll get to a little bit of my Twilight Zone.
Oh, okay. All right. We're gonna get into some inner conflict on the Republican side as well now. But first, I wanted to just mention an upcoming conference called Founded to Flourish. Our new president, Kelsey Reinhardt, will be speaking there, and she is not someone to miss. It's going to be in Alexandria, Virginia, so not far from the swamp, but just enough over the river to be away from the fumes. We've got it in November coming up, so we're going to throw that in the chat. Please check it out. I believe Josh Mercer's going to have to put on a tie and maybe make an appearance as well, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, no promises. But Kelsey will be there along with Michael Knowles is going to be there. Who else do we have coming? My screen just went totally black. We got Tucker Carlson. What? Oh my goodness, I have some questions for him. Patrick Deneen, Chad Pecknold, Kevin Roberts, and Bishop Michael Burbidge is going to be there as well. I'm a big fan of the bishop, so
it'll be good to have that bishop there, and then also, like you said, Kevin Roberts, Heritage is co-sponsoring this conference with us at Catholic Vote. So great time to be there. Founded to Flourish, just kind of getting ready to kick start this 250th anniversary of this beautiful republic. That's going to be a big year to celebrate. So I'm
excited. Big birthday parties all year, 250th. All right. So moving into this is a headline that came down, I think, end of the day Friday, and the interwebs went crazy with both hope and disgust. So the Washington Post dropped this investigative report, and it was provocatively suggesting that the Trump administration is backing down on the IVF, in vitro fertilization insurance mandate that Trump had floated, promised, campaigned on. So again, this was August 3rd. It dropped, citing two anonymous sources who are close to the White House, reporting that the plans have been dropped for those on Obamacare exchanges. So for about 50 million Americans, and all anonymous sources. Everybody went bonkers. I mean, Kristen Hawkins was out there being excited. Kevin Rouse, everyone's like, this is great news. Look, we fought hard and there won't be any IVF coming out of the White House. Catholic Vote, I read the article and it's a little bit more cautious.
Very cautious. I mean, let's be honest.
Why are we being cautious?
Look, I mean, first of all, there's two writers to the Washington Post. You know, one of the guys, Josh Stein. I mean, he got some Jeff Stein. Sorry, he got some major things wrong. Anyway, he was like, his assessment was this would be a major cut against pro-natalist conservatives who want more babies. It's like, look, I want more babies, but I don't want babies through IVF because it leaves lots of babies dead in the process or frozen on ice forever. So I'm not a big fan of IVF at all. And certainly it's extremely expensive. There's a lot better alternatives. I would prefer pro-fertility solutions that actually are much better, that work better. But the reason I'm kind of very cautious about this is like, it's the Washington Post. Like, how did this article get out here? Like, I mean, in my mind, it could be somebody who wants this policy to actually get enacted that leaked it to the Post in hopes that it would cause a fervor and that Trump would go, wait a minute, no, wait a minute, hold on. So I mean, look, I'm with Kristen Hawkins in the sense that if this really is truly shelved, then I'm super happy, but I'm just not going to count my chickens until they're hatched on this.
Yeah,
I'm cautiously optimistic in that just on Thursday, I was talking to somebody in the administration, not directly connected with the IVF decision, but somebody who would play a part if it ever came down. And he was talking to me, and this did not make me feel good. He was talking to me about what if, like, you talked about regulations like in Europe and things like that to attach to IVF. And I'm like, those are all ideas. However, you have to understand that usually when I'm in a meeting of pro-lifers and somebody will say, well, nobody here opposes IVF. And I'm usually have to slinking in the corner going like, actually, there are a lot of problems with that policy. And he was trying to find a compromise, which had me worried that maybe it was getting closer down the line. But at the same time, knowing a lot of people who are involved in the process, both at HHS and within the White House, who understand all the problems with IVF, that it is not the answer. A lot of times it's covering up the problem for the couple when they go through IVF. I'm optimistic and hope it's a trial balloon actually in our direction. That okay, how will people react if we say we're just not going to do it? And the cost would be a big California for years, they've never cared about fiscal responsibility. California for years avoided taxpayer funding of IVF because of the expense. It was Gavin Newsom finally signed it into law, I think, just to thumb his nose at President Trump during the campaign, because President Trump was talking about something like this. So President Trump, perhaps his rhetoric is now going to just quicker bankrupt California, but something like this could very easily further bankrupt our already troubled healthcare system.
And it's worth associating. I mean, like, we can talk about from a Catholic perspective all the problems that are wrong with this, when there are many. And Erica has done great work on that, and a lot of the articles she's posted, on Catholic Vote. But the fact of the matter is, as you just said, Tom, it masks part of the underlying problem. And so if you really want to help people get the treatment that they need, there's better options. And yes, actually, throwing this massive expense onto the taxpayer is good for corporations, but it's not good for our treasury. It's not good for taxpayers. Why are blue collar people having to be paying tons of money so that rich people can get IVF? This is stupid. So again, sometimes if people will listen to at least fiscal sanity reasons to not do this, that would be great. But this is a bad idea. So I hope that, yes, they are turning the page and deciding not to do this. That would be a great benefit. Again, you're more cautiously optimistic. I'm just kind of cautious. We'll see. I hope so. If you wanted to float a trial balloon like this, the day before, right after August recess is the perfect time to do it. So that would make sense.
I was going to ask too, because a lot of the noise around this is, Trump's going to do this. He's going to change the Affordable Care Act terms. But how much could the president actually do? So he had the initial executive order that we actually covered here on Loopcast because it was just very disturbing to, Catholics especially. That was back in February, directing Vince Haley, the domestic policy advisor, to find ways to promote IVF and lower the costs. But in terms of actually adding IVF as an essential health care benefit, that would have to be Congress, right?
And that's, if the president did something, it would kind of be seen as a green light for a number in Congress, because there are a few in Congress who agree with IVF but just don't talk about it. If you look at the military bills, originally IVF was included in a huge range of different things, and it was only specifically for those in the military who, because they were injured in combat or injured in the line of duty, for finding ways for them to have children. Since that was introduced like 10 or 15 years ago in TRICARE, which is the military healthcare system, Republicans and Democrats in Congress have tried to expand it more and more. So now it's just basically anybody in the military. And they currently are trying to expand it to anybody in the military and their families. So this would be a green light, I think, for those Democrats and Republicans to go forward. Thinking, oh, the pro-life movement can't really go after us, because other than Catholics for decades, the only ones talking about this were Catholics on this issue. Now you have the Southern Baptists who are also opposed to it, and you even have groups like Family Research Council, which is kind of Southern Baptist adjacent and all, who are just like, you know what, maybe this isn't the best solution. So hopefully the president is looking at that and going like, this is not the best time. Yeah, if we were fighting this 15 years ago, it would be me and the lobbyists from USCCB saying, no, stop. But that's
an amazing story, though. Yeah, I don't think,
well, I mean, Tom, I would just say maybe the change there would be that, I mean, in one sense, a good swamp thing, because there are a lot of Catholic activists who care about this, who have started working for organizations. I mean, you used to work there at FRC for a while. And so, good Catholics are talking to their Protestant brothers and sisters like, hey, maybe here's some other arguments or things you haven't thought about in terms of this. We may not necessarily get them to, believe in, the Immaculate Conception, but if we can get them to realize, hey, there's problems with IVF that we shouldn't be promoting this. And that would be good. That would be ecumenical.
I tried. I tried. And it was, Catholic Voices have certainly moved the needle quite a bit. But one of the most outspoken people against it was somebody, Emma Waters, who was working with a Heritage. And she was talking about all the bad side effects and everything of IVF, too. I think where she came around to the point of finally, this is not the path anybody should go down. So there are examples, and she's evangelical. So there are examples like that.
That's amazing. It's a great story. That is good news. And it should be encouraging to Catholics that the needle can be moved, or people can consider something that they haven't thought about before. Just so you know, there is a chat today, but chat, for some reason, we cannot see you. So that's why you're not interacting with you as much as we normally would, other than the fact that we're just really into how the swamp operates today. And it's very all absorbing for us. And we can't, but we know you're there and we love you. I'm going to let's go ahead into the good news section. I feel like we need a little palate cleanser here. I was going to talk about the world's oldest baby, but maybe I'll save that. We'll see how we're doing when we hit the Twilight Zone. This was over the weekend.
My wife told me I was the world's oldest baby.
Oh,
no, biggest baby. That's what she said.
Oh.
Gentlemen, no outing the wives. Okay, so Jared Allen over the weekend, this video came out, and the youths who work for us in social media were like, Erica, this has to be your good news, because Pogo's not here to do his weekly look. Here's a sports figure who's an amazing dad. So I am here in the driver's seat.
But wait a minute now. Last time Pogasic gets on there and he's talking about the actual Vikings from the old country, and now you're coming on talking about Jared Allen, a Minnesota Viking. I mean, like, hello? What am I here for?
Your summer, Josh. All right, let's just play it. This is so beautiful.
I tell you two, you are my greatest accomplishments. When I get called home to heaven one day, if all they talk about is this gold jacket, my career, that I failed miserably as a father, a husband, and a friend. You two are my legacy. You are both so talented, and I cannot wait to see what you decide to do and to conquer this world. So always put Christ first, find your why, dream big dreams, and always pursue greatness in whatever you do. Thank you all, and may God bless you all.
Oh, that was so beautiful. That's a dad winning. That's great.
I love
You
that
two are my
guy.
leg-
He was so much fun to watch. I'm a big Minnesota Vikings fan, and he was awesome. It's good to know that he's also actually just a really awesome human being.
Yeah, makes it even better. I love
And
it.
it's okay to cry in public if it's about your kids, especially your daughters or your parents. So
Yes, yes, very true. All right, Josh, what do you got for good news?
Well, I mean,
Bring us
it's
up.
kind of adjacent to this. I mean, they asked on a podcast, they asked this Hollywood actor, he was from Better Call Saul.
Mhm.
Who are you jealous of? I'm like, this is a great Hollywood insider kind of thing. Let's roll the tape and see what he says here. I think it's kind of fascinating.
Who are you jealous of?
Anybody who's still got little kids at home growing up.
Oh,
Yeah, there's no question I knew what I was doing when I had kids growing up.
yeah.
I was being a dad. I mean, that was my job. And
Yeah.
I didn't have to ask myself, what am I doing here? What am
Yeah.
I doing? How can I be a part of this world? How can I be meaningful today?
Yeah.
I didn't have to ask that question because the answer is pick up everything between here and the door.
Yeah, that's right.
And make sure they get to school and have a laugh with them.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Oh,
life was, I understood my purpose.
best answer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
was the best answer, brother. That was
that was the best
awesome.
answer.
You know, like I have one that's graduated high school. I got 5 more left to go, and it's like, I see what you say, brother. I see what you
I
say.
know. Yeah, we're at that time of the year with homeschooling when I like get out we take all the books off the shelf from last year that they finished, put them in the boxes, get out the books from the previous siblings who have been through that grade level and like start to go through. And I have a rising senior this year, so we're gonna have to say goodbye to another one at the end of the year. And
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
it starts to just gallop along. But the whole like having a little kid in the house and having purpose every day is so true. The baby is now, he's almost 17 months old. So he's at that stage where every day multiple people in the house have to literally save his life. And so
Yes.
we all just wake up in the morning and we looked at each other and say, save a life today. And we do literally. We
And you
take things out
They
of
have
his
saved the
mouth,
life
we catch
during the
him.
Loopcast. I mean, let's
Yeah.
not forget that.
That was epic. Yes, I did save his life during the Loopcast once. It was live on.
you just got to save these all for either his ordination or his wedding day.
Exactly.
So all the kids can talk.
It's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great day. All right, Tom, do you have good news?
It's less good news than news to make you laugh, because it's classic Donald Trump. And if you want to just roll the clip, I know we talked about this on the Loopcast
Sydney
last
Sweeney,
week.
yes.
I think you guys did.
Actress Sydney Sweeney had came out this weekend that she was a registered Republican. Any thoughts on that?
That who was?
Sydney Sweeney, she's like a very hot actress right now.
She's a registered Republican?
Yes.
Oh, now I love her ad. Is that right? Is Sydney Sweeney? You'd be surprised at how many people are Republicans. That's what I wouldn't have known, but I'm glad you told me that. If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, so that's obviously a total lie because you can't tell me that man didn't like the ad beforehand.
True. That's so funny. He's so on brand. He's just so himself.
Gosh, yes.
There's a man who just doesn't care anymore.
Yeah,
He
just
just
say
say what I'm going to say. Thank you, Tom, for the update. It's good to have continuity on the Loopcast.
The Sydney Sweeney update. That's what I'm here for.
There you go.
That's why we had
no
you
idea
on.
who she is. But
And now American Eagle must just be like, we made the right call because
Why didn't I buy stock in them last
everyone,
week?
no,
way.
come on. Next time like Sydney Sweeney ad drops somewhere else, quickly buy stock. Yes.
Bud Light should hire her.
Yeah.
That might finally turn that around. Yeah.
Actually, before we get into the next story, I did want to just ask Tom, are we actually going to get the Pelosi Act? Do you think that's going to happen this fall? Josh Hawley coming up with they can't do trading anymore. Like, is this going to be a real thing, or is it going to fade in the wind?
It wasn't on my radar until like Tom and I were like talking on Slack about it. It is a horrible look for the Republicans to be opposing it.
Awkward.
I think if it does pass the Senate, it would easily pass the House. And you'd also see a whole bunch of, probably for at least a decade, a whole bunch of members of Congress looking for exemptions and things like that.
Oh boy.
But once the president's main opposition was because he thought it was going to entangle the current president and vice president. It does not. So I've not gotten a straight answer from any Republican office why to oppose it at this time.
Well, they couldn't tell you the real reason they oppose it.
There are members of Congress who come in as regular Joes making like maybe, I think their salary is close to $200,000 a year, yet they leave Congress multimillionaires.
Yeah,
We've got to start questioning that.
we should start questioning that. Oh my gosh.
Well,
Josh Hawley's like whole riff on that during the hearing was hilarious. It was so funny. But maybe we'll get to that next in September if they bring it up again. We don't even have to cover the Hill now, guys, for like 3 weeks. This is great. A little bit of a summer recess. Okay, on to really good news. We had over the weekend some great footage coming out of Rome. Pope Leo, we had the closing mass for the Jubilee of Youth, and it was really like a mini, or actually just a total World Youth Day happening there. We had over 1 million young people showed up. I don't know if you can pull up that video there. This is a beautiful moment at the closing mass. And you just see, you go down, you're like, oh, wow, that's a lot of people under the lights by the stage. And then you look out and you realize that all those floodlights, all those spotlights going back like half a mile, it's packed with kids. And they're all just praising God and praising Jesus and meeting Pope Leo. So the kids are all right. It was pretty beautiful footage there. So we had young Catholics from roughly 150 countries, including a group from my parish here in New Haven, converged on the Tor Vergata Fields, southeast of Rome, for the Jubilee of Youth. There are already 800,000 participants the night before the Mass. They sleep overnight in the field, and by the next day, there's at least 1 million. Vatican officials confirmed that presence, and they were accompanied by 7,000 priests and 450 bishops. So another beautiful moment for the church. Right there, you can see Pope Leo greeting the crowd. So,
and then
very
someone
cool.
like, held up a tennis ball. He's like, yeah, and they threw it, and he just caught it. I mean, good God, the guy's got some talent. I mean, that's good.
It's pretty awesome. I believe there was another Da Pope T-shirt sighting as well.
Yeah, they gave him a Bears jersey or something.
A Bears jersey. Pretty fun.
He caught the ball, so obviously he never played for the White Sox.
Ugh. You got to be careful now that Brian's confirmed. He might be in the chat. You gotta watch it there, Tom.
Well, Tom's Tom's in safe ground here. Brian is a Cubs fan, so they're going to keep that rivalry going there.
Right. All right. I like it. Okay, we're into the Twilight Zone. Josh, you're up.
Well, we'll probably get into this topic a little bit more as this continues to heat up, but right now, Republicans in Texas are trying to move forward with a plan on gerrymandering. And if you ask me, like, oh, this is kind of unseemly because 45% of the voters in Texas are Democrats. But if this ends up getting passed, it'll be like 31-5 of the House. 31 of the 36 House seats will be Republican and 5 will be Democrat. And, so this is a pretty aggressive gerrymander. And so House Democrats in Texas, this is guess how they're deciding to protest this, right? This is in their mind, totally unjust, authoritarian move of power, only done because of the president. So what they're going to do is what? Hop on a jet and fly to Illinois, the most gerrymandered state in the entire country, and they're flying there on a private jet.
Oh my gosh.
So, why are they doing this? So now all the House Democrats from Texas have left the state. They don't have enough quorum, so the Republicans won't be able to pass the bill. And so now there's this fight. Now, again, this is the same tactics. Like, you don't like the legislation, all just kind of leave. So, you're giving Republicans the opportunity to pass or to put forward a bunch of legislation, like, aid disaster relief for the floods, and he can't pass it, but you can say,
Right.
you just do a roll call. Like someone said, just be like Ferris Bueller, like Senator Barry, you know, just
Anyone?
give him the Bueller
Anyone?
treatment. Yeah. So this just kind of cracks me up. I mean, like I got the next one here. How gerrymandered is Illinois? Take a look at this map that they have in, I mean, the districts. I mean, again, Illinois is about as, is just about a perfect.
Oh my gosh. That visual. Okay. If you're not on YouTube, you need to go check this out. This is crazy. It looks like a salamander, which is what
So you've got
gerrymandering
basically
came from.
like what, 4 Republicans
salamanders.
out of Illinois, and the other like 12 seats are all Democrats. And
That-
it's a state that has about the same, almost a perfect mirror of Texas, right? I
Mhm.
mean, Texas is like 55-45 Republican. Illinois is about 55-45 Democrat. And so this is what Illinois does. And you'd think that there would be like 8 or 9 Republicans out of the state of Illinois, or let's say, 7 maybe, and the other 10 are Democrats. It'd be like a 10-7 split, you would think, right?
Mhm.
But no, they gerrymandered a ton, so you're left with like 3 Republicans or something like that. So again, it's just absolutely rich that Democrats are protesting proposals to do gerrymander in Texas by flying to Illinois. Give me a break.
Brian's getting out of Illinois just in time.
That's right. They're coming for you, Brian. Oh my goodness. It literally looks like 2 salamanders like swimming around in Illinois. It is. Anyway, my goodness. All right. I have 2 for Twilight Zone. One is actually so heartwarming. So yesterday, our homeschool group here in Connecticut had their big kickoff picnic for the beginning of the year. And this is like massive, 200 people, 180 your kids or something like that. It was wonderful. Not at my house. This was at a larger venue because I can't even do that. But there's a recitation contest for the kids, and there's like an open mic. There are push-up contests. It's super fun, really fun. Water balloon toss and all that. For 14, well, only one teen signed up for this. Only one high schooler, a young 14-year-old boy. And he gets up and he's like, my name is blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to be reciting the Declaration of Independence. And everyone's like, yay. Because like a lot of the kids memorize the first part, and that's just, memorize the first part of the Declaration of Independence. So he starts in. And he gets to the end of the first part of the Declaration. And then he starts in on, and the king hath. And he did the entire thing from memory. This was mind blown. Everyone just sat there slack-jawed. Even, homeschoolers, we can memorize.
All the grievances, you got them in.
All the grievances were in. And you know what? It sounded a lot like a recitation of the last 4 years. We were just kind of sitting there like, oh yeah, we did that. We just had that. That just happened again. It was amazing. Yeah. It was very therapeutic for all of us. So shout out to the Connecticut homeschoolers. That was mind blowing.
All right.
It wasn't even Twilight Zone. It was like I've gotten out of Plato's cave or something glorious. I also did some research. It's terrible. I did some research last week on dating and Gen Z.
Oh boy, Todd,
I'm
are
working.
You in trouble?
Oh, no. I'm working on a deep episode.
Should we go off air?
I'm never going out there again. This actually confirmed I will never date again. If I wasn't already deeply in love with my husband, I'm like, thank God. I, like Brian, got the last chopper out of Nam here. It was mind-blowing. But this was really interesting in a way. Oh, and I'm working on an episode on Romance is Dead for Gen Z for the Deep. So if you have not watched any Deep episodes, they come out Thursdays at 4 p.m. But I wondered, where are the kids? So the most downloaded dating app in the Google Play Store right now is not Tinder, it's not Hinge, it's not Grindr, except among certain populations, and it's not Bumble. It's called Tea Dating Advice. So this is an app for straight women. You have
tea
to
as in drink the tea.
Like drink the tea. Yeah, like the tea. Like what's the tea? It's literally named after gossip. It's tea.
Spill
like
the tea. Okay. Yeah.
Spill the tea. Okay. They crowdsource red flags about the men in their area that they might go on dates with. So more than 1 million people signed up in the last 4 weeks alone. And this is this is crazy. So the original intent supposedly was it's a safety thing, right? Because what if the guy is crazy and you found out you went on a date with him and he's actually a stalker or he like abuses women? And this is a safe space for women to go and find out about, abuse or criminal behavior, or he's not the same as his selfie, right? Sounds great. Only that's not what it is. So you end up with, it's just this gossip channel. And
Oh,
it
it's
looks
called
like,
tea and it's gossip.
I know, shocker. All the pictures, it's like an Instagram account, but it's all the pictures are just reviews of single men around you. So it's got GPS and everything. The posts are anonymous and screenshots are impossible. To make an account, you have to upload a selfie to prove you're a woman and then upload an ID as well. Once you're in, you can search for information on men using their phone number, and you might find a lot of information, including his full name, address, age, relationship status, and links on his social media profiles. Turns out guys don't like being gossiped about in this way, and some horrible things happen. Shocker. Late last week,
In single
as
time.
I was doing this research for work, right? The site 4chan, which is a huge Twitter account, discovered a vulnerability in T's data that allowed them to gain access to 72,000 images on the site, including 13,000 selfies of the women and their ID cards submitted to verify their accounts. And there we go. This is what happened on Twitter over the weekend. They outed all these women. T later confirmed that the hackers had accessed another 59,000 images. Posts, comments, and direct messages were all released, and GPS. So now we have maps of where all these women are. Yes, this was a lot of male, how do you say that? Schadenfreude going on. It was.
And I like what this actual status update says. The T app users, this is somebody who objects to it, of course. The T app users who expect guys to do better, or they will dox you and defame you. I hope this data breach puts a stop to these kind of apps and this kind of toxic behavior. Yeah, I would like to say something on this, because I think with regards to the whole dating thing, I think obviously the biggest problem with men is the temptation of online pornography, and the idea that you somehow feel you can get your fix through that, which is unrealistic, and it's not going to bring you fulfillment, and it's immoral, obviously, that that kind of stuff. And so, like, a lot of women have a right to object to men who are seeking that kind of immoral fix. That's a danger. It's a danger that men have. They're much more susceptible to that danger than women. Not that women don't. There are women who suffer this problem, but for the most part, it's a much, much bigger problem for men. The problem, I would say, for women, again, is the gossip end of it, which this thing is doing well. It's also that, again, I would like to say, when it comes to looking at the sexes, that these are generalities that have been observable throughout time. They're not every man and every woman is like this, but it is generally the case where you go to a restaurant and the woman can't figure out what she wants to order. She's looking at the menu like, oh, I don't know, this looks good, but I don't know, but this is kind of good too. And you're just like, just make a decision. That's the problem women have when it comes to dating apps too.
Happy birthday, Lori. He's outing you.
Flipping, and they're like, I don't know, he's kind of nice, but I don't know, I think I can keep doing better. And nothing is ever good enough for him. And so that, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's as immoral as pornography. I get it, but you know what? That's a problem. Like, I don't know if I date this guy. He doesn't seem like he's a 9. Maybe I get someone who has more money. I can do better. Let me see what else is on the menu. And so women get like overloaded with too many options. Sometimes it's better just to go out and touch grass.
Yes.
Go to church, go to some event, and actually meet people in the wild. And don't keep thinking to yourself, I wonder if I can do better.
Yeah. No, the whole online dating thing and I know couples who have used like CatholicMatch.com or Catholic Singles. What was the big one in the 2000s that was not Catholic? But I know people who have come together in this way. Right, Match.com. And so there can be good fruit from it. But I think by far, in a way, this is just another cautionary tale of the when you separate being like actually connecting with people in real life, in person, through people through friends, through your family, through your hometown like hangout spot. Oh man, talk about setting up
we as a church, as you talked about the AI stuff, we are a sacramental church.
Yeah.
You can't just, go online and confess your sins. You actually do it in person. You can't
Mhm.
just receive, the Eucharist online. Of course, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you have to actually go to church and participate in the
Mhm.
liturgy yourself. Like, that's what we are. We are a people. We're not all just digital. We have a digital footprint, but we are
Right.
more than just our digital footprint. Man lives by not just digital alone. Like, you got to get out there and see real people.
That's right. Preach it. But there is a kicker to this, and you'll love
Man
this.
does not
Josh.
live by ones and zeros alone. That's
Ones and zeros alone, tippity tap, by Instagram alone. So the kicker here, though, was that the opponents of ID verification laws for porn sites went absolutely crazy over the weekend, and they were like, "This is why we should not have ID verification for pornography sites either, because then you're going to shame and expose all these people using porn."
I have, you know what? They got a point there. Maybe what we could do as a compromise is shut down every porn site.
I love it. Problem solved. Much better.
No need for ID verification if there is no porn site.
A lot of the big cities fought against prostitution, sex trafficking, basically. They fought against prostitution. They would start printing the names of the guys, the Johns, who were trying to go to the prostitutes instead of just name the prostitutes. It's like, if you're doing something, maybe you shouldn't be doing that shameful thing instead of being worried about being exposed for it.
Yeah,
Just
I'm all for public
throwing that
shaming
out there.
when it comes to that. Yeah, for sure. All right, McCluskey.
Bring back the stocks.
That's right. Bring us home, McCluskey. What do you got?
Well, I'll try to be quick, and I haven't even talked to the folks at Catholic Vote about this yet, except it's probably going to be a Loop story or Daily Signal story at some point. It is about legislation. The Appropriations Committee. Appropriations are the annual budget that Congress is supposed to pass to keep the government running. They haven't passed it through regular order in well over 20, possibly 30 years. The chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee is this woman, Susan Collins, who's insisting this time around it's going to be bipartisan. She's going to pass them all through. Why do members of the Senate want to get these through? Because of earmarks. They get flooded with money that they can then flood into their district. Susan Collins, the chair, and she's the one who opposed like NPR to funding. She opposed PBS to funding. She secured more than $810 million in earmarks just for the state of Maine in these spending bills. So this is why she wants to get this through. And on top of that, they aren't vetting the earmarks all that well. And working with a researcher at Heritage Foundation, we found in the labor HHS bill, which has not been passed in about 15 or 20 years, because it normally is very controversial. It's got abortion stuff in there, life stuff, gender stuff in there. The earmarks, just an initial view of what we found, the earmarks include $5 million for the New York Stem Cell Foundation, which primarily gives its money to embryonic stem cell human experimentation, something that has never proven to show any cures. $1 million for a hospital that does 20-week abortions, and $2 million for the Radis Children Hospital in San Diego, that as of February was still doing chemical child gender transitions and referring for child mutilation surgery. And then $3.5 million for University of Catholic Merced, not Mercer.
University of
medical
California, right? You said, I'm sorry.
University of California Merced.
Yeah,
Merced, M-E-R-C.
Merced. I think it's. I mean, it sounded so fast. I almost thought I heard Catholic, but I just So University of California.
Oh, sorry, California. The opposite of Catholic. They do chemical abortions there. And also this money could also go to train doctors on campuses to distribute the pills or to do abortions.
So you're saying all this bad stuff is in a bill that Susan Collins is hoping to shepherd through her committee?
It's already gotten out of committee with only 3 no votes, so it's going to go to the floor when we get back in September.
And aren't all of those things illegal? Like, we're not allowed to use federal taxpayer funding for like abortion, for example, or
but now we're giving direct grants, which for abortion wouldn't go through the Hyde Amendment.
Oh my god!
And this would be training people to do abortions, not doing the abortions directly. It's all semantics with these people. And on the gender stuff, again, it's grants to the organization that then just says, oh, this is just to keep our lights on. We're recommending the child mutilation over in this corner over here.
Nice.
So it's
Oh my
just
God.
something we're hopefully we can build up enough outrage during this lazy days of August going to September that this bill just dies a very quiet death by the time the senators come back.
So what you're saying is no recess for Tom. This is we have a lot of work to do
stay
before
on
they
it.
get back.
I
Yep,
love it.
we are on it. That's why we're here. Catholic vote. Let's do it. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for this. Thanks for coming on, Tom, and giving us the inside scoop on the swamp. Whew, have to go take a bath now or something. That was great. We'll have Pogo back on Wednesday to tell us all about his time in the wild in Texas. We will see what happened down there. And yeah, thank you to the Cunninghams for sponsoring today's episode. Again, if you are not subscribed, please be sure to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review, please. If you're listening on Apple or any other podcast platform, just tell us how much you love it. And if you don't love it, just don't. Just walk away. It'll be great. But today is the feast day of St. John Vianney. So I'm going to end with, he of course was a parish priest, the cura d'ars. And so I wanted to end with this prayer for our priests. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. O Jesus, eternal high priest, keep your priests within the shelter of your sacred heart, where none may touch them. Keep unstained their anointed hands, which daily touch your sacred body. Keep unsullied their lips, daily purpled with your precious blood. Keep pure and unearthly their hearts, sealed with the sublime mark of the priesthood. Let your holy love surround them and shield them from the world's contagion. Bless their labors with abundant fruit, and may the souls to whom they minister be their joy and consolation here, and in heaven their beautiful and everlasting crown. Amen. Saint Fidelis,
Amen.
Our Lady of Guadalupe, Saint Thomas More, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And we will see you on